And I also hope that you are having a good day so far. All right, so today we will be doing our high school advanced writing lesson, focusing specifically on grade 9, right? Um, but our lesson is going to be on audience, purpose, and tone. So, audience, purpose, and tone. That is going to be our lesson or our chapter for today. And before we start, we're going to log into aplusstudents.ca. We're going to log in with our username as well as our password. Once you've logged in with your username as well as your password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts. And then we scroll all the way down to grade 9. So we're going to grade 9. Once we have selected grade 9, we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of audience, purpose, and tone. All right. So when we get to audience, purpose, and tone, right, our chapter is audience, purpose, and tone. We are doing the subject of English, which is language arts, grade 9. So which means that if you go to aplusstudents.ca and then you're going to grade 9, but this is high school advanced writing. And then our lessons is to identify audience and purpose and to compare passages for tone. So that is basically going to be our focus lessons under the chapter of audience, purpose, and tone. And we are doing our lesson on aplusstudents.ca. And like I say, you are going to grade 9, and that is where we will find our specific chapter, which is audience, purpose, and tone. All right. All right, so we're going to start, right? So we say that audience, right? Or not we said, but audience. Audience and purpose are important factors that work together to guide a writer's decision. So it basically works together to guide a writer's decision, specifically about word choice, sentence style, tone, and the use of evidence. So audience and purpose, right, are important factors that work together to guide a writer's decision about word choices, sentence styles, tone, and use of evidence. And that is very important when it comes to audience and factors, because especially if you hear the word audience, right? Audience are your intended readers of the text. And remember, when it comes to your intended readers of the text, right, the reader of the text need to basically understand what your text is about, right? So which means that word choosing is quite important, right? The style of the sentencing. The tone, is it a light tone, heavy tone, if it's quite harsh, right? And also the use of evidence within your either research, book, or so on. So, audience refers to the intended readers of a text. So, audience refers to an intended readers of a text. And writers use the understanding of audience to make choices about what information readers need. So the writers will basically then use their understanding, right, of the type of audience, and then they will make a decision about what information that readers need, or that they think the readers need, what evidence the readers will find convincing. It's like, for example, when writing a book, for example, you need to also see what is selling at the moment. Is it, for example, horror, romantic, poetry, novels, So you basically need to know which type is it's maybe like, let's say, selling, right? And that people want to read, or that people are more intrigued about. So we see that the audience, it refers to the intended readers of a text, and writers, they use the understanding of the audience to make choices about what information readers will need, what evidence the readers will find convincing, and what language is most appropriate for those readers. So the language, should it be formal, semi-formal? Sometimes should it be slang, right? They also need to know if the language should be flat, you know, less formal, like a street type of language, right? So depending also on the piece of writing, the language is also or needs to be appropriate according to that. For example, a car ad targeted toward an audience of new parents might describe a vehicle as spacious, especially if it's for parents. Why? Because parents have kids, right? Which means that most parents, they would basically want a car that is, let's say, family friendly, right? So which means that the first thing that they will specifically look at is it spacious enough, right? Also, when it comes to for example, the car ads, they would also say, and will boost, and they will boast about the fact that it is crash test rating. Because remember, when it comes to parents, right, then also the safety of the kids come first. So crash test rating is important. But meanwhile, an ad for the same car targeted towards outdoor enthusiasts might use words like rugged and emphasize the vehicle's four-wheel drive capacity. So, which means that you need to know what your intended, or who your intended readers of the text are. And there they gave us a clear example of the two, let's say, car brands, right? It can be the same car ad or brand, but if your intended audience are new parents, then it means that they will specifically look at something spacious, right? Something that is crash test ratings, right? Anything that is spacious as well as safe and reliable. Whereas we can then use the very same car, right? And if somebody is more into outdoor activities, right? And then the style of writing or the tone of writing might change. For example, they'd use words like rugged and then emphasize on the vehicle's four-wheel drive capacity. Sometimes they will even talk about the tires or the wheels, right? Anything to make that intended, let's say, audience to buy, right? So that is basically audience and purpose. Audience, sorry. Now, purpose. Purpose referred to a writer's reason for writing. So, purpose, it refers to a writer's reason for writing. So, what is the reason for writing? Is it some form of inspiration? All right, so we say that purpose, it refers to a writer's reason for writing and what he or she hopes to accomplish. So if they start writing, remember it is the same as having an end goal. You need to ask yourself or remind yourself, what is the reason for me writing, right? And they need to also remind themselves or ask themselves what they hope to accomplish at the end. And then two primary purposes, right, of non-writing are to inform readers, as with a textbook or a lab report. So the purpose refers to a writer's reason for writing or what he or she hopes to accomplish. And the two primary purposes of non-fiction writing are to inform readers, as with a textbook or lab report, and to persuade readers to change the way they think or act, as with an advertisement or newspaper opinion piece. And individual pieces of writing will typically have more specific and complex purposes. So if you are writing for basically for yourself, right, then your style of writing will definitely change compared to specifically working for a company. All right. And an example of purpose, right? An example of purpose, a news report might inform voters of politicians, right? Voting record by providing that information without commentary. And a political website might try to persuade voters to support a particular candidate by highlighting the specific portions of his or her record that the website's visitors are likely to approve of, right? Which means that that is basically purpose. What is the reason for this writing? And what do he or she hope to accomplish? Right? And when it comes to the example, right, then it is almost like pushing people, or wanting people to vote based on the app because they would make the app so, let's say, convincing that you would want to specifically vote for that political party or maybe the whoever that is within that political realm. And that is basically purpose and audience. And once again, audience and purpose are important factors that work together to give writers decision about word choice, sentence style, tone, and use of evidence. And we said an audience refer to the intended readers of a text, right? So it will depend on who you need to convince. Who are you convincing? What's your target, right? Like we said, with the example is if it is a car ad, right, that is targeted towards a specific audience, specifically new parents, right? And then they will look at a more bigger model that is more spacious. So that is certain words that they would use. And then with purpose, it refers to the writer's reason for writing, right? It's like convincing because it's basically also an end goal in mind. All right, then we have tone, right? So we have purpose, we have audience, and now we have tone. And tone is the attitude that is expressed within the text. Is the attitude very big, loud, right? So the tone is the attitude that is expressed within the text. A writer's tone can communicate a range of feelings such as excitement, humor, skepticism, or restraints. It's almost like, are you either freely to do it or are you holding back? And tone is revealed through the language that the writers use in a text. All right. So tone is revealed through the language that the writers uses within a text. For example, is the information presented through direct statements or figurative language? And remember, when it comes to tone, writing, and so on, right, then it needs to go through or be presented through direct statements, right? Because figurative language would basically be seen as it not being as serious or as important. We also need to ask ourselves, is the topic described through positive words and phrases or through negative ones? All right. So you need to see the information presented through direct statements or through figurative language. Is the topic described through positive words and phrases or through negative ones? And lastly, these types of text features can help convey different tones. So tones within writing is important. All right, now we're going to aplusstudents.ca. aplusstudents.ca. a+students.ca. And then we're going to identify audience and purpose. All right, so we basically said what is the text's main purpose, right? So with every text, right, there is a main purpose. And audience and purpose are important factors that work together to guide a writer's decision about the word choice, sentence style, the tone, as well as the use of evidence. Audience refers to the intended readers of a text, where the writers use their understanding of audience to make choices about what information readers need. So we said audience and purpose are important factors that work together to guide a writer's decision about word choice, sentence styles, tone, and the use of evidence. Guys, evidence is important, right? If you are even doing research, right, then it means that the articles needs to be referenced. Audience refers to the intended reader of a text. Writers use their understanding of audience to make choices about what information that the readers need and what evidence readers will find convincing and what language is most appropriate for those readers, right? So you need to know who or what your car, or let's say your vehicle, or not even car, vehicle, sorry, your writing is about. Is your writing for, let's say, the teenagers, the young ones? And then we have purpose, right? Refers to a writer's reason for writing or what he or she hopes to accomplish. Two primary purposes or non-fiction writing are to inform readers, as with a textbook or lab report, and to persuade readers to change the way they act or to think or act, as with advertisement or newspaper opinion piece. Individual pieces of writing will typically have more specific and complex purposes. And then we have an example. A news report might inform voters of politicians' voting record by providing that information without commentary. And then a political website might then try to persuade voters to support a particular candidate by highlighting the specific portions of his or her record that the website's visitors are likely to approve of. All right. So now if we look at our tutorial, right, it says review the blog post and then answer the questions. Coasters and trivets are easy to create and they make great gifts. All you need to do, all you need for this simple DIY project are pieces of cork, a template, a mat, a cutter, a pen, scissors, and a flat work surface. Start by choosing a template shape such as a star. Trace the template onto the cork. Cut out the shape with the mat cutter. Voila! you have a cork star that can be used as a coaster or a trivet. So if we now look at this sentence, right? So now the question is we need to review the post and then answer the question. All right. So when it comes to the very first text, right? The coasters and trivets are easy to create. The main purpose of the text, or the text's main purpose, it is to explain how to make cork coasters and trivets. And you can also tell because it provides step-by-step instructions as to how to make these cork coasters as well as trivets. So basically, the main purpose of this text is to explain how to make cork coasters. All right. We need to review the letter to the editor and then answer the question. As a parent, I'm concerned that students are buying soda in the school cafeteria every day, which affects their ability to learn. Too much sugar and caffeine make it challenging for students to concentrate. In addition, soda consumption can contribute to long term health problems such as obesity and diabetes. I'm not suggesting that Boonville's public schools should dictate what students eat and drink, but I do believe our schools should promote and foster healthy lifestyles, including proper nutrition. So students should be allowed to bring their own soda from home, but offering soda in our cafeteria is unacceptable. So we need to review this letter and then basically give the main purpose of this letter. All right. So now we need to basically find out what is the main purpose of this article or this text or something that the parent wrote in. And a news report might inform voters of politicians, for example, but voting records by providing that information without commentary. Mm-mm. So basically, the main purpose of the letter, right, as the parent letter, the writer uses the word Boonville Public School and our students to basically highlight that if she does decide to take further steps, it's going to be towards a school. So, based on the data gathered, we measured the boiling point water as 99.51 degrees Celsius. The error against the expected measurements was percent, 49%. And sources of error may have impurities in the water, contamination of the equipment, or human error in reading the thermometer If we repeated the experiment, we might achieve more accurate results in sterilizing our equipment using distilled water and verifying that the thermometer's readings are correct. All right. So if we look at the lab report, right, as well as the conclusions, and then we need to answer the questions. So basically, the main purpose is just to record an experiment and demonstration learning, right? All right. Now let's go to our test. All right. Now we need to read the fundraising pamphlet and answer the question. Be a hero in an animal's life. Donate to the Martin County Animal Shelter. Adoption fees cover less than 80% of our operating expenses. We rely on donations to ensure that every animal receives excellent care. Your generation gifts provide food, shelter, and veterinary care to homeless and rescued pets. Please donate today. So basically, this is a fundraising pamphlet, right? So we need to basically say what the whole purpose is of this text or the pamphlet, fundraising pamphlet. Does it mean that, so who is the primary audience? Is it community members who wants to adopt pets or community members who care about animals? So who is our primary audience? Members who want to adopt pets or community members who care about animals? So it's mostly and people who compare about the animals. Yes, not necessarily to do with adoption, but they are convincing and persuading people who basically have a love for animals to basically just um, buy the items or to do certain things. So now we're going to review a fundraising pamphlet and then answer the question. Be a hero in an animal's life. Donate to the Martin County Animal Shelter. Adoption fee cover less than 80% or 8% of our operational expenses. We rely on donations to ensure that every animal receives excellent care. Your generation gift provides food, shelter, and veterinary care to homeless and rescued pets. Please donate today. So now we need to ask ourselves or answer which best indicates that the primary audience is community members who care about animals. All right. So if we look at the possible answers, right? The first one is the writer indicates that donating. Nope. The second one, the writer argues that the shelter is necessary to keep stray animals off the streets and and prevent illnesses. All right. So now if we select the one, we can say the writers indicate that donating is a way for readers to be a hero in an animal's life. Well, the writer argues that the shelter is necessary to keep stray animals off the street and prevent illnesses. All right, so now if we look at our possible answers, right, it is the writer indicates that donating is a way for readers to be heroes in an animal's life, or the writer argues that the shelter is necessary to keep stray animals off the street and prevent illnesses. Let's choose quickly the second one, both. All right, so basically the first one is correct, right? Where it says the writer indicates that donating is a way of readers to be a hero in an animal's life because they specifically say that when it comes to adoption fees, right, it only covers an X amount of percentage for the operating expenses, which means that they basically rely on a lot of donations. So now we need to review the fundraising pamphlet and answer the questions. Be a hero in an animal's life. Donate to the Martin County Animal Shelter. Adoption fees cover less than 8% of our operating expenses. We rely on donations to ensure that every animal receives excellent care. Your generous gift provides food, shelter, and veterinary care to the homeless and rescued pets. Please donate today. So, what is the purpose or the main purpose of this text? So, the purpose is it to inspire readers to donate money to the shelter or to encourage readers to donate their time to the shelter? It's to donate their money, right? Donate the money because we are going to read the women's clothing store advertisement and then answer the questions. Let the snow fall, chase away the winter chill with the luxurious coats and fashionable folks fur accessories. Our new arrivals are the hottest looks in of the season. And don't miss out on 40% off sale. All right. So they say don't miss out on our 40% off sale. Friday is the last day to save. So now who is the primary audience? Is it shoppers looking for practical winter clothes or shoppers looking for trendy winter clothing? All right, so basically we can say that our intended readers are shoppers looking for practical winter clothing. All right, so basically they're saying it is shoppers that's looking for trendy winter clothing. I think it's probably by the fashionable folks fur accessories that gives us the indication that shoppers are looking for trendy winter clothes. Remember, what happens is that the tests can be quite tricky, right? So if you do get something wrong, you go to where the correct answer is, you copy that link, send it to us, and you will get 100 bonus points. So now we are going to review the women's clothing store advertisement and then answer the questions. Let the snow fall, chase away the winter chill with our luxurious coats and fashionable folks fur accessories. Our new arrivals are the hottest looks of the season, and don't miss out on the 40% off sale. Friday is the last day to save. So now we need to say which base indicates that the primary audience is shoppers looking for trendy winter clothes. Is it the winter theme shoppers with the prompt of a big sale? Or the writer describes the merchandise as fashionable and the hottest of the season? Yes. Now we're going to review the women's clothing store advertisement and then answer the question. Let the snow fall, chase away the winter chill with our folks, luxurious coats and fashionable folks fur accessories. And new arrivals are the hottest look of the season. And don't miss out on our 40% off sale. Friday is the last day to save. So what is the text's main purpose? Is it to entice readers to come shop at the store or to help readers save money? So it's basically readers to come and shop at the store because they are specifically even describing the type of clothes, the coats, and the stuff that they have. All right. You may think of hunger as a problem that exists elsewhere, but nearly 50 million people in the United States are affected by food insecurity. That's almost 50 million people who sometimes have to make trade offs between having enough to eat and meeting of other basic needs. Although many don't realize that hunger affects urban, suburban, and rural community. Joining together, we can take steps to end hunger and just not just worldwide, but right next door. So now we need to say who our primary focus is or our primary audience is. Is it financially secure Americans or Americans in rural communities? So they say you may think of hunger as a problem that exists elsewhere, but nearly 50 million people in the United States are affected by food insecurity. That's almost 50 million people who sometimes have to make trade offs between having enough to eat and meeting other basic needs. All right, so now we need to say who is the primary audience. Is it the financially secure Americans, Africans in rural communities? All right, so financially secured Americans are making decisions. All right, the last one. You may think of hunger as a problem that exists elsewhere, but nearly 50 million people in the US are affected by food insecurities. That's almost 50 million people who sometimes have to make trade offs between having enough to eat and meeting other basic needs. Although many don't realize it, hunger affects urban, suburban, and rural communities. joining together, we can take steps to end hunger, not just worldwide, but right next door. So now we need to say, oopsie, which best indicates that the primary audience is financially secure Americans? Is it the fact that the writers note that hunger also affects suburban but not just other areas? And the writer assumes that the readers doesn't know food insecurity happens nearly. So we will go with the writer's notes. All right. So now we need to say which indicates the primary audience is financially secure. The writer's notes that hunger also affects suburbs, not just other areas, or the writer assumes that the areas doesn't know food insecurities happen yearly. All right, so basically, it is the winter assumed that it doesn't know how insecurities work. All right. All right. So basically, that is now the end of our lesson on purpose, audience, and tone. Thank you very much for joining the class, and you should have a good day further. Bye.